But let's go to the Herd Global Satellite Network. Let's go live to New York, where Chris Broussard joins us. Oh, the NBA just keeps giving and giving and giving. Any idea why David Griffin would now tell us about how miserable he was during his time in Cleveland?
Well, Doug, I texted with Griff this morning, and he said that the quotes, where everything was taken out of context. He said his misery stemmed not from LeBron himself, but from the constant media scrutiny. And he also said he's going to speak on this publicly later today. So I guess he'll make some type of statement or appearance or something later and discuss it in more detail. But, I don't know if the writer took stuff out of context or not. But what shocked me the most, Doug, was I felt like the lack of appreciation for what LeBron had done. I don't want to say it like just for Griff, but, the fact that he got to serve in the front office for a player like LeBron. Because of LeBron, David Griffin has on his resume 3 trips to the finals, 1 NBA championship, the first in the city's history, the first championship of any kind in 52 years. And largely because of that success, Griff, who is a good general manager, but he's very highly respected, got a very good job with New Orleans. And I would tell you, if LeBron James never goes to Cleveland, Griff probably isn't in this position. The article kind of came off like Griff, at least the way it was written, like he would have been happier maybe if LeBron doesn't come and he builds around Kyrie Irving. He gets to mold the team organically. He kind of used that word, inorganic. He gets to mold the type of team he wants, and he gets to relish in the challenge and the small victories of maybe making the playoffs, of can we become a second-round team? Can we become a conference contender? Can we get to the finals? That type of thing. But here's the deal. There's a high likelihood that if LeBron doesn't go to Cleveland, Griff gets to build the team his own way, and they never make the playoffs.
No, but listen,
ultimately, after a few years, Griff gets fired, and then he's not in this position to get the job with the Pelicans.
I know, but this is the control group, right? I mean, the control group is in New Orleans, where we think he'll be able to build organically in a small market where no one's been able to have any sort of success, let alone sustained success, and we'll find out. Some of that is how the article is written, but even in his I understand his comment about LeBron isn't an animal about winning like he used to be. LeBron himself said, "I have nothing more to prove." Right? I mean, he has in fact said that. He has changed some of his focus in the offseason. He was the one who showed up at work while injured with the Lakers with a glass of wine. He isn't these are inarguable facts and simply telling you how it felt. And by the way, doesn't the toxicity of the media and the coverage of him, doesn't that mirror what Kevin Durant said? Isn't this is a widely held perception, isn't it?
All right, let me first address the LeBron isn't an animal about winning anymore. After 2016, which is when Griff said this trend began, if you will, the next year, LeBron has a great individual season, 2017, leads them back to the finals. They run through the East. I think they're 12-1 in the playoffs, and they just run into a far superior Golden State team. The next year, didn't he lead the league in minutes or no, played all 82 games?
Right.
And then gets them back to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
So I just can't buy this notion that after 2016, LeBron wasn't that interested in winning. I will lend credence to the notion that after 12 straight years of finals or bust, really championship or bust, from 2007 when he first reached the finals to 2018, 12 straight seasons of championship or failure for LeBron James. I will buy the notion that there was a part of him that was kind of looking forward to a season, the first in LA, doesn't have to win a championship, isn't expected to get to the finals, And, hopefully we'll make the playoffs, make a little noise. But this year I get to kind of take a deep breath and get away from that. And then when we get a free agent, they ended up getting Anthony Davis, but he probably thought they'd get another free agent at some point. Then they can compete for titles. If he wasn't about winning anymore, why in the world would he essentially ruin the locker room this year by making such a stink about getting Anthony Davis? So I do think LeBron. Now, I think he has other interests. I think he moved out to L.A. because of family and business and stuff, too. But I do think he still wants to win.
Chris, it didn't say he doesn't.
And has reason to win.
It didn't say he doesn't want to win. Like, you're taking it a step that it doesn't say. He said he wasn't.
Where's the evidence that he's not he's not just as committed to winning?
When he was in Cleveland, they didn't practice anymore.
He's in his 17th year.
Again, but he didn't show up to practice.
Not.
No, did not.
What'd you say? Could not or would not?
They did not practice. That was part of the culture problem. That's what made it unsustainable. That's what made it hard to make adjustments. They didn't practice.
He's an older player.
Again, I'm not arguing about that.
He's an older player. There are a lot of guys at that stage that don't practice.
He didn't, but hold on. He didn't, not the whole year. He didn't say he didn't want to win. He said he wasn't the same animal about winning. Right? He said he didn't like the culture. I'm sure he didn't like doing all those deals with Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith that they were pressured to do because they were rep by Rich Paul. Like, he didn't, in no way did he indict LeBron James, the player, or LeBron James, the competitor. He just said
saying isn't the animal as far as winning anymore.
Isn't the same animal.
How many more years is he going to play after 2016? He might play 7 more years after, dating back to 2016, 6 years, whatever. None of them he was really trying to win anymore?
Not at the same level. He doesn't play defense at the same level. He doesn't have the same level of attention to detail.
Is none of that because of age, Doug?
Maybe, but it's the amount of effort you put into it. Let's shift really quickly to Carmelo Anthony, who just went on TV and said, hey, Chris Paul said he had nothing to do with it, but Daryl Morey walked in 10 games in and said, your services are no longer needed. He claims to not have a problem now with coming off the bench, thinks he belongs in the NBA. What's your takeaway from Carmelo Anthony?
Well, look, I will agree with this. I think Melo is better than 60, 70% of the players in the NBA. There's no question he's good enough to play in the NBA. The question and the problem is, where does he fit? A young team that is going nowhere wants to develop its young players and see who's a keeper, see who they can build around. They don't want to give 15 shots, 30 minutes to Carmelo Anthony. They need to see what their young guys can do. A challenger, a contender, how do they fit Carmelo Anthony into their system? It's easier to fit a role player in than a ball-dominant former star who, is going to want to play a certain way and get a certain amount of minutes and shots. So I can only look at a handful of teams that he might fit. And I don't have evidence that any of them want him. I don't think he's getting back in the league. But a Miami, a Detroit, a Washington, a Charlotte, teams that aren't at the bottom and aren't full of young players, but certainly aren't contending. They're kind of sputtering. They're not going anywhere.
It's amazing.
But I think a Carmelo Anthony maybe could go there. But it's just, I said a year ago on this show, The Herd, that Carmelo Anthony should retire. Because I hate to see a guy that I consider a first ballot Hall of Famer begging like this. Now, I think he said some great stuff and represented himself well on the show. But ultimately, there's a part of this that just bothered me because it felt like he's desperate and he's begging people to put him back in the league. It feels beneath a player that great.
Oh, I don't have any problem with him begging to get back in the league, but he didn't. He didn't say he's willing to do the little things it takes. He's willing to practice. He's willing to play defense. He's willing to understand that his role and to help.
Okay, he said other things.
He did.
You're right. He didn't mention defense and things like that.
He can't play in the NBA because you can't. You can hide one guy, but you can't hide a role player, and he's a mid-range shooter. He doesn't fit in today's NBA, and like you said, he may statistically be better because he scores more points, but what does he do to the chemistry of the team? Does he truly accept the role? And how much does he hurt you on defense? Like, look, LeBron James is one of his closest friends. He's had multiple opportunities in Cleveland and in L.A. last year and in L.A. this year to say, hey, sign him for a minimum deal. And he hasn't wanted to. If your best friend doesn't want you to fit any sort of role, why should the rest of the league? That's I think, the take. You got 15 seconds.
No, it reminds me of Allen Iverson. I mean, now it's getting beyond what Iverson went through, but they couldn't accept not being a star and a superstar. Iverson could have, to me, become a Lou Williams, a Jamal Crawford off the bench, but he couldn't accept that role. And I get it. That's fine being a superstar. I don't want to be a role player.
It's really hard.
But if you don't want to be Vince Carter, then you're going out like this.
All right,
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.